The battle for the skies is one of the most important elements of modern warfare. The Russian Federation frequently uses Su-34 fighter jets to launch FAB-500 aerial bombs to destroy military fortifications and civilian infrastructure. However, such air missions are very risky because the pilot needs to get very close to the target. In this case, he got too close, and it was a fatal mistake. After being hit, the aircraft remained in the air long enough for the pilot to eject before it crashed. However, the loss of a fighter jet worth around $36 million will have significant consequences for the Russian army. In this video, we can see how the pilot was lucky to catapult himself at the last moment, just before his airplane was about to end its flight forever. Pilots always fly in pairs because this tactic increases the chances of successfully completing the mission and the survival of the pilots. This principle of combat has been established since World War II and remains relevant to this day. However, this time it did not help them. A targeted shot from a Ukrainian soldier using a man-pads caught one of the pilots by surprise. The plane ignited instantly. On the video from the reconnaissance drone, we can see that the pilot tried to keep the fighter in the air for a while. But when the wind's force turned him sideways, the pilot had to eject at the very last moment. From the first hours of the Russian Federation's invasion of Ukraine, the combat helicopters of the occupying army caused numerous problems for both the civilian population and the military. There are many recordings where Russians directly attacked residential buildings and destroyed the infrastructure of entire cities. Helicopters are a formidable weapon, typically equipped with strong armor and armed with various types of weaponry. Russian propaganda even labeled their K-52 Alligator as invincible, but the Ukrainian armed forces have repeatedly proven that this is a myth. Since February 24, 2022, according to the Ukrainian General Staff, about 329 helicopters have been neutralized. It is rare to capture these moments on film, but when such videos appear, they are truly impressive. It is not the size of the boat that matters, but the skill of the sailor. This small flash in the sky is the result of a perfect hit by an FIM-92 Stinger. At first, it seems like the helicopter continues its flight as if nothing happened. But within a few seconds, we see the real consequences. The crew's chance of survival in such a crash is close to zero. Operations to shoot down aerial targets are often coordinated with reconnaissance drones. Thanks to these birds, we can witness such impressive footage. In another video, the drone operator managed to capture a similar hit, only from a closer distance. The pilot continued to control the aircraft for over a minute, possibly hoping to make a landing. But life isn't like a movie. Piloting a burning helicopter in real life is far from as easy as in Call of Duty. The Mi-24 helicopter, or as the Russians call it, the Crocodile, at first glance seemed to explode in mid-air for no apparent reason. However, if we slow the video down by 10 times, we can spot a fast-moving projectile that hit the target precisely. We can't know for sure, but it's likely that the pilot died from the powerful explosion before his aircraft even touched the ground. The cost of a single Mi-24 helicopter is over $10 million. However, the Russian army also has more expensive equipment. The K-52 costs around $16 million. At the beginning of 2022, Russia had between 120 to 160 units of this equipment. According to intelligence, their current number is less than 30. Thanks to videos like these, we understand where more than 100 of these wings have disappeared. It's hard to say exactly which weapon was used in the attack, but that doesn't make the video any less impressive. The Russian combat helicopter explodes in a ball of flames before plummeting to the ground after being struck by a deadly projectile. Even in slow motion, the speed at which the rocket hit the target is astounding. Typically, during air operations, helicopters, just like fighter jets, never fly alone. They always cover each other. But this time, that didn't help them. The smoke trail from the missile lingers in the air for a few seconds, allowing us to understand the direction from which the swift strike was delivered. And although one helicopter managed to leave the battlefield, the other was left to rest forever in the Ukrainian fields. Even after being destroyed, enemy equipment causes significant harm to the soil and the environment. But it's better for it to be destroyed in the field than to continue killing people. After a crash, the helicopter's ammunition often detonates for some time. It's quite a spectacle. especially when it's the enemy's army. Many aerial targets are shot down by Ukrainian soldiers using various portable anti-aircraft missile systems. The Ukrainian army is equipped with the Igla-1M, a modification of the Soviet Igla-1. The warhead of such a system contains less than a pound of explosives, so its charge is not always enough to completely destroy the target. However, it is almost always enough to cause significant damage. Like in this case, after being hit, the Russian attack helicopter continued flying for a few more minutes, trying to escape from its opponents. But in the end, it met the same fate as like most of his colleagues. This event can be observed not only from the drone's camera, but also from the perspective of the National Guard soldier who launched the missile. It was a masterful strike on a target that was so far away.
Далеко, да? Попал! Попал!
It's not always possible to say with 100% certainty what target was hit in every video. The farther you are from it, the safer it is. Especially when infantry holds positions and fends off aviation by any means possible. For this reason, many videos showing the destruction of rotorcraft are filmed from a great distance. And identifying the type of destroyed equipment can only be done after inspecting the wreckage at the crash site. Sometimes, intact parts can be salvaged from the wreckage of a helicopter to be used later in the repair of our own copters. In other cases, it's even hard to identify the type of aircraft that was hit, as the crash site often resembles a pile of twisted metal. It's difficult to imagine the force of the explosion and the temperature of the fire when you see it. In the first weeks of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, many helicopters had to be shot down directly in cities near civilian homes.
Ё-моё.
Ukrainians tried to stop the aggressor wherever they could. As a result, citizens often saw these dead machines right in their own backyards, a terrifying sight. But that's the price of freedom. When pieces of a helicopter scatter after a precise hit, it's natural. But we have a video filmed by the Russians themselves, where, for some unknown reason, parts and an external fuel tank simply fall off their newest K-52. Perhaps this machine's conscience woke up, and it decided to self-destruct. We'll probably never know the true reason, but we'd certainly like to see more cases like this. In not all videos can we see the moment of impact, but we can at least observe the aftermath of the battle. 2 Russian helicopters circle over the crash site of a third. A combat helicopter tries to cover the evacuation rotorcraft, so it can land and retrieve the surviving pilots. Pilots of any aircraft are highly valuable personnel, as their training takes many years. But when the rescuers manage to land, it becomes clear that there's no one left to save. This video was filmed relatively recently in the Kursk region of the Russian Federation during the offensive by the Ukrainian armed forces. The K-52 was hit on August 10th in the zone of the liberation operation by a Manpad's Stinger. Here, the pilots of a Russian reconnaissance and attack helicopter K-52 captured the moment when another similar helicopter of the invaders was shot down by a Ukrainian Manpad's missile. The aftermath of this shootdown has already been shown to us by ordinary Russians who came to see the crash site. The K-52 tries to maneuver and actively uses flares to avoid destruction. But while the reconnaissance drone operator was filming the hunt for the first Russian helicopter, he almost missed the effective destruction of its partner. One target out of 2, a very good result. Perhaps the other one also doesn't have much longer to fly. This video is quite rare because it shows us the moment a Russian helicopter is shot down through the eyes of the pilot himself. While performing a combat mission, he was trying to destroy Ukrainian air defense systems. However, during the maneuvers, he was hit. The damage was not critical, and the chopper was still controllable. However, in the rearview mirror, we can see smoke and fire. After that, he made an emergency landing and even survived. As for the helicopter, it most likely became a trophy for the Ukrainian armed forces. At the beginning of the war, Ukraine had a very limited air defense arsenal. During the assault on the Kyiv reservoir, Ukrainian soldiers even attempted to shoot down helicopters with small arms. It's hard to say if they succeeded. During active military operations, it's very difficult to verify such information. However, eyewitnesses claim that one helicopter was hit this way. At least 2 enemy aircraft were destroyed during this mission using various types of weaponry. For example, now you can see footage of a Mi-8 being hit by a Soviet-era Igla-Man portable air defense system, effectively turning this flying bird into an underwater one. Due to the shortage of weapons, Ukrainian soldiers have to resort to various tricks. For example, in April 2022, a soldier from the 95th Separate Air Assault Brigade managed to destroy the newest Russian K-52 attack helicopter using the Ukrainian anti-tank missile system, Stugna, which was initially developed to combat tanks and armored vehicles. However, thanks to its laser guidance system, they were able to target the flying tank and effectively destroy it. Perhaps the most unique video was recorded on August 6, 2024. The security service of Ukraine managed to achieve a truly unique strike on an enemy target. For the first time in the history of the war, Ukrainians shot down a Russian Mi-28 helicopter in mid-air using an FPV drone. After this, similar methods were employed repeatedly. Destroying a target worth tens of millions of dollars with a drone costing $1,000 is truly